It was a warm afternoon in late summer, and the house was as quiet as ever. I remember walking into the bathroom, calling out my daughter's name, my voice echoing slightly in the silent air. The scene before me, even now, hangs in my mind like a painting too dark to truly see but impossible to forget. There she was, my sweet girl, lying so peacefully, almost like she was asleep. But she wasn't asleep. Her skin was pale and still, her hair floating softly in the bathwater. My world shattered that day, though I didn't know it fully then. I would come to understand the cracks piece by piece in the days, weeks, and months that followed. In the beginning, it was an impulse. I didn't want to change anything, as if by keeping everything as it was, she'd still be here. I kept her room exactly as she left it, her bed unmade, her clothes in the hamper, her favourite book on the bedside table. I couldn't bear to close the door, even though it felt like a wound left open, raw and aching. Every day I went through the motions, as if nothing had changed. I cooked dinner for two, plating her portion carefully, setting it across from me. It felt like she was just running late. At any moment she would come through the door, smiling that bright, pure smile of hers. But as the weeks dragged on, things started to shift. One night, as I was finishing my nightly ritual of running a bubble bath for her, I heard it, soft footsteps in the hall. I froze, listening, heart pounding. The steps faded and I chalked it up to imagination. Or maybe my wishful thinking, the lonely hope that my girl hadn't truly left me. And then it happened again, and again, more frequently. The footsteps grew clearer, closer, as if she was walking toward me. My heart was conflicted each time, half filled with dread, half with a desperate kind of joy. I left her plate on the table, untouched by me, but the next morning I'd find the food gone, the plate empty, as if someone had sat across from me and eaten. I'd tell myself there must be some logical reason, maybe mice or some explanation that could make sense. But deep down, I wanted it to be her. Nights became stranger still. Sometimes her stereo would come on in her room, faintly playing the song she used to listen to on repeat. I'd sit outside her door, listening, too afraid to enter, afraid that if I opened it, the music would stop, and I'd be left alone with the silence again. The little things continued. Doors opening, lights flickering, her smell lingering in the air, a faint hint of lavender and vanilla. It was like she was still here, bound to the house, and I too was caught in some ritual of trying to keep her close. I stopped questioning it. Instead, I welcomed the routines and the rhythms of her presence. I'd sit at the dinner table talking as if she were there, imagining her responses, her laughter, her voice. Sometimes I'd catch glimpses of movement in the corner of my eye, a flicker of a shadow that felt familiar. Everyone else in my life grew more distant. They told me I needed to move on, to let go, to let her rest in peace. They didn't understand that this was my peace, the illusion, the fantasy that she was still here with me. I didn't want to move on. I wanted her to stay. As the months passed, I became wrapped in this strange, unsettling comfort. I was no longer just a grieving mother. I was a mother living in the shadow of her lost child, haunted by memories and dreams that seemed too real. I prepared her meals, set her plate, ran her baths. I kept the house as it was, preserved in time, a place where she could always come home. But one night, as I lay in bed, a new realization crept in, a terrible thought that chilled me. Maybe it wasn't her spirit I was keeping alive, but something darker, something that fed on my grief, my unwillingness to let go. Maybe it was something that would never let me go either. I gathered my courage one night as I heard the stereo switch on again inside her bedroom. But this time I was going to open the door. I was determined too. I stood outside her bedroom door as the music faintly played inside. With a small click sound, I turned the doorknob. But just as I did, that the door locked from inside the bedroom. "Let me in, sweetheart." I yearned for her to let me in again. This wasn't like her to keep me locked out. I soon came to realize the reason the door locked was because it wasn't her. The cabinets in the kitchen swang open and everything in it flew across the kitchen. That was warning number 1. I left the door with a gasp and quickly made my way back into my own bedroom. This wasn't my daughter.